Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Um, it's good to see you guys. Hello, chat. Um, I wanted to say thank you to everyone who came by yesterday, the day before that. Thank you. I was really, really pleased to see such a wide variety of people here and such a big growth in the community. Thank you, everybody, for subscribing. Um, from the time that the stream started yesterday until this morning, we have gone up something like 50 subscribers. So thank you. I appreciate that. It just goes to show you that all those people who think that nobody wants us on YouTube are wrong. People are subscribing. Okay. Hello. And I wanted to say something to someone whose comment I highlighted um, yesterday evening. Um, there's my crawl. Oh, also, I wanted to thank all the people who cash apped. Thank you so much for your generosity. I will not reveal your identities for obvious reasons. So thank you for your kindness. I really, really appreciate it. It's great, especially when you're not monetized. So thanks. I'm glad that you guys are giving a thumbs up in terms of money for the content on the channel and that you're glad to see us and everything. Okay. So yesterday I highlighted a comment by somebody named Michael. All right, this is what happened. What happened was that there's another account on YouTube that is spelled similarly, but they have a different avatar. And that account has been going from chat to chat, being incredibly rude about me, spreading a lot of lies. They're a total A-log, whatever. And I thought that the Michael that popped up in chat yesterday, I think it was the person's name was Michael. Hi, love. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry to take your fun away, you guys. Negs apologizes for not being, you know, whatever. But when he said that he was going to go work on his mental health, he wasn't joking. He went and he worked on his mental health. So, everybody who's tuning in hoping to see a meltdown, you're out of luck. Go find some other creator who can fulfill your A-logging desires. Okay. Um, the person that popped up in chat yesterday is not the person I was thinking of. All right. The person who popped up in chat yesterday was a farmer. And now that I know who that person was, I know that that's not the individual who has been showing up in different people's chats, A-logging me half to death. So um, I appreciate the farmer that came by in chat. Sorry for the mix up, but keep in mind it's been a year and a half. I've been out of the game for a while. And I just thought that you were somebody else with a different, that had changed the spelling of their account name and changed their PFP. But the spelling of your account names is very similar. So, okay. All right. So today we're going to be taking a look at. Oh, and I also wanted to thank everybody for behaving in chat yesterday. I only had to ban, I think, one or two people, one of whom I started side-eyeing the second that I saw them in chat, and I knew I was going to have to get rid of them, and I did. And then I think I blocked somebody else, but two people out of over 150, I think was the top number, is not bad. So thanks a lot. Hello, IDGAF. Good to see you. So that's a very small number of people compared to the usual amount of trolling and hate and vitriol and A-logging that we get if we're on Rumble or some other place, or God knows, whatever. All right, so today we're going to talk about a video that I found the other day talking about Santa Monica and how Santa Monica, California has taken a huge turn for the worse. Now, the content creator I'm going to be showing is somebody who has had his share of issues. which I don't know that much about, but I gather that he and Spencer Cornelia have been in trouble for more or less the same thing. I have heard that this content creator has not been quite forthcoming about, I don't remember what it was, whether it was financial advice that he gives, whether it was plugging crypto. I don't remember the exact nature of the scandal. However, what I'm about to show you has absolutely nothing to do with crypto, investing, real estate, nothing. It has to do with Santa Monica, which is a city I have not visited in about 20 years. So when I ran across this video, to say that it came as a huge shock to me is an understatement. A huge understatement. So basically, not to keep everybody in suspense, Santa Monica has gone the way of San Francisco, which is very, very sad. San Francisco being a jewel of a city that has fallen into disrepair due to mismanagement and bad laws being passed in Sacramento, and Santa Monica, which is suffering for the same reason. So I think that we should watch this video and we can learn a little bit about how things go horribly wrong when people pass laws without thinking through the ramifications of what could ultimately happen. Now, he did a follow-up video about what's wrong with California. Same. Bad laws, bad governance, mistakes, lots of issues. And we're going to hear a lot more about it. I found out yesterday an astonishing statistic. It was in his Graham Stephan's video on what's wrong with California. California spends $138,000, I believe, per year on each homeless person. $138,000. That is a lot of money, especially a lot of money to create such a, to see the population explode, to see the problem getting worse, and to see that the cities are suffering as a result of two things. Three things: homelessness, mental illness, and drug addiction. So let's fire this video up. Excuse me. All right. Let's fire this video up and we will learn together what the hell happened to Santa Monica. All right, let's go.
Don't steal from my store! Recent violent attacks in Santa Monica and a growing homeless population have shaken neighbors and businesses.
A series of high-profile crimes over the past several weeks became part of a showdown between the city and businesses as to whether this sign is true.
Immediately called the police around 2 a.m. and they showed up around 4 a.m.
The system's broken. Nothing is being done about it.
So this is Santa Monica. It's the city I grew up in. It's where I spent most of my time as a teenager, and it's even where I bought a house on the same street I grew up on before moving to Las Vegas. But as you're about to see, what used to be a thriving, vibrant culture and economy is now a barren wasteland of empty buildings and crime. And apparently it's gotten so bad in recent months that I didn't even believe it myself until I saw what I'm about to show you. Even though this is going to be unlike any other video I've ever done, I'm going to walk you through the city firsthand, share what it used to be like from someone who lived here, speak with the locals to see what they think about the recent events, and then I'll leave it up to you to come to your own conclusions.
If anyone had told me 20 years ago, if anybody had told me 2 years ago that beautiful, magnificent, gorgeous Santa Monica would become so dangerous and so fucked up that that esplanade that he was showing with all the closed shops would have that many boarded up shops or that many closed shops, or that people would fear going down to the Santa Monica Pier, which is one of the major draws of Santa Monica, the beautiful beach, the Santa Monica Pier, the shopping, the restaurants, and now it's become unrecognizable. I would have told them that they were out of their goddamn mind, that they needed their head checked. But that's exactly what's happened. So let's continue.
I'd also like to thank German and Venice for bringing this to my attention, because before I saw this video, I had no idea just how bad things had got. Now, for those unaware, behind me is the 3rd Street Promenade. Think of this like the major business hub of Santa Monica, home to some of the now most expensive real estate in the country. But it wasn't always like that. Surprisingly, today, Santa Monica is safer than just 2% of US cities. It's ranked one of the top 10 most dangerous places in the United States, and your chances of being victim of a crime here are nearly 1 in 100. So this used to be
Santa Monica. Santa Monica. Did you see those statistics? You know, when I first saw this video, I immediately sent it to Negs. And I think I even said to him, I feel like I've gone insane. Santa Monica. Are you kidding? Let's continue.
Crepe Cafe. I remember this place would always be packed on the weekends. On weekdays, there'd always be people out front eating food. You can see now that they closed down. And then over here, right across the street, this building used to be my bank. This used to be HSBC, and they shut down when COVID happened. They turned out a lot of their offices, but this all used to be really popular lease space that also is vacant right now. So we're not even about 50 feet away from that. We have 3 more vacancies here. This used to be a Hollister. We have another vacancy next door to it, and then another vacancy across the street. So it seems like a lot of these businesses have shut down. We also have another right here that I just missed that's for lease.
Wow.
What's kind of remarkable is that 40% of the 3rd Street Promenade right now is vacant. 40% of all of the
40%, for those of you who have been to the 3rd Street Promenade, 40% of the 3rd Street Promenade is vacant. This is an incredibly expensive city to live in, with taxes that reflect the property values and the assessment of property, you know, land value and stuff. 40% of the 3rd Street Promenade is vacant. If you've been in Santa Monica, you know what that means. That is huge. That is huge. I'm not going to say it's like as bad as Connorsville, but a city like Santa Monica, with that many wealthy residents, with that beautiful a location, should not be experiencing 40% vacancies in the 3rd Street Promenade. Let's continue.
This space right now is completely empty, and they can't lease it. I also used to remember for the longest time there used to be street performers here, and now it's quite empty. Hold on. I mean, this is what it's turned into. How has this been normalized? Think of what this does, though, for businesses. Like,
right.
No one wants to open up here. People don't feel safe here. If you're just walking down the street and some guy comes up and is shouting in your face and wants to fight you. And then right behind, of course, we have the infamous Apple Store. This was also turned recently into a public safety kiosk. Again, in one of the most expensive areas in the entire country.
Right.
And you have a public safety kiosk just because of how many incidents they have around here. You know, truth be told, I actually don't know what a public safety kiosk is. Should we ask?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm curious. What is a public safety kiosk? I grew up here and I don't.
It's just basically like a substation, or if people have questions, or something happens.
Hey, Maurice.
The owner says a similar smash and grab happened in February. Other stores along the promenade, like Lids, tell Eyewitness News they've been victims of the same crime, even though a Santa Monica Police Department public safety kiosk is right in front of the store.
They don't care.
I will say there's one store that has been here ever since I was a kid. In the 90s, was Puzzle Zoo. At one point, they occupied both stores, but they had to downsize. So now they're taking half. The other half is taken up by Lids. But that store has somehow survived for probably about almost 40 years now, even though across the street, you have 2 more vacancies here. I also got to say it's quite remarkable when you compare how it used to look like back in like 2018.
Yeah.
Because you could go back on Google Street View and see precisely what was here how many people were here.
Beautiful.
And then you see the change. Oh, this is a fun one. So this is now for lease. Guess how much they're asking for this? It's 1,500 square feet. It's on the corner of Santa Monica Boulevard and 3rd Street. So it's like a kind of prime location. They're asking $30,000 a month.
$30,000 a month for that space. $30,000 a month. I think now we're getting to the bottom of why the vacancy rate is 40%. There's no law and order. People feel unsafe just walking up and down the promenade. And the rents, what was it the guy said? The rents are too damn high. That became a meme. This isn't a meme. This is a reality, and it's a very, very grim one. $30,000 a month to rent a storefront in the 3rd Street, which normally would make sense. If the 3rd Street promenade was still the same 3rd Street promenade that it was, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, you'd say, okay, fine. We're surrounded by millionaires. The home values are sky high. So sure, we'll be able to make it up. No problem. But under these conditions, absolutely not. Let's continue.
So just think about that. If you're a small business, you're probably spending $30,000 a month in rent, then another $30,000 a month in overhead costs. So just to break even every month, you need to bring in $60,000.
Right.
I don't get how any company could survive here
unless
it's a loss leader, unless you just put your business here for the exposure and then you lose money on it.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. So we're about to cross the street. This entire building used to be the Gap. They rented out all 4 stories and they extended through the end of the street. This has been empty for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
I believe they closed down during COVID and they decided this just wasn't worth it anymore to stay in business here. I believe shoplifting took a hit on them, but also just they weren't getting as many sales in person. And with the state of how the promenade is, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Why put a store here? Why pay the rent when it's just not making any money? This also used to be a really popular restaurant. It looks like they've closed down, and whoever the new owner is, or maybe it's the existing owner, decided to renovate it completely. So it'll be interesting to see what this becomes. I'm also really uneasy about recording in public, so I'm doing my best. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. If you appreciate me going outside of my comfort zone for this, I really don't like it. You can see there's people all around, and I'm terrified.
His chin, oh God. Hang on a second. I think that a delivery is here for us. Hang on. Sorry, guys. Pizza guy. That's all the fuss that you heard out there. Had to get the pizza in the house. All right, let's continue.
Terrified inside, but I'm doing it for you. So this used to be a lot more prevalent in Santa Monica with street performers. People would really come from around the country to be able to perform on these streets and perform in front of a crowd. But now it's incredibly empty. Like, this is the first person that we've seen in a block and a half who's performing. It's pretty sad to see the state that Santa Monica's become.
Yep.
So what's really interesting is that we've spoken to a few business owners and people who work here, and not a single person wants to share their experience on camera, but they'll gladly talk off camera. And everyone is afraid of almost being public about how they feel about the situation because they're afraid of either retaliation or being canceled for having thoughts that aren't politically correct.
So I think that we can imagine what their opinion is, right? And interestingly enough, I mean, a lot of businesses closed during COVID, and a very interesting range of businesses survived the shutdown. Actually, DC bounced back pretty damn well, if you want to know the truth. The biggest, the businesses that felt the pinch the most were the companies that lease out office buildings, because so many people started working from home that a lot of those office buildings were well below capacity. And so the mayor was trying to figure out a plan for what to do with those office buildings if people don't start going back into the office eventually. And the way things shook out, federal workers were required to go back home. A lot of federal workers were required to go back into the office. I was one of them. But quite a few of them, the ones who didn't have to be on site, were allowed to remain home. But I'm talking about the lobbyists. I'm talking about the law firms, the insurance companies, the trade associations. A lot of those people started sending their employees home and saying you can work from home from now on. So the mayor of DC was considering turning some of those office buildings into condos. There was going to be redevelopment of those buildings. I don't know the status of that, but when it comes to retail, DC did really well.
Correct. But it seems, though, that a lot of people feel the exact same way about what's going on here. It's just they're too afraid to speak about it. So this used to be the food court. There used to be a McDonald's in here. There was a Chinese food that was really good. And then upstairs used to be a whole bunch of restaurants. And I think this closed in 2020, and it hasn't reopened since. Again, it's probably because the rent is so unbelievably high. But there is some good news in the fact that across the street, it seems like Barnes & Noble is opening up. So perhaps a few of these businesses are beginning to move back to the area. So the last block of the promenade has always been the most difficult for businesses because people tend to gravitate towards that side. So this is somewhat neglected. And that's why it's hit especially hard, because you have 3 vacancies in a row on this side.
Crazy.
Across, you have another vacancy on this side, and then a few stores down, you have 1, 2 more empty buildings on that side, which makes it really difficult, because why would you want to move your business in here when there are just empty businesses next to you?
That's right.
It's a lot less foot traffic. Yeah.
Hey, hit the like and subscribe.
There we go. Thank you.
I've seen you before, bro. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Yeah, you too.
Like and subscribe.
Thank you.
This guy's
Yeah, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe this channel, please, you guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the new subs. We both do. We both appreciate the likes. We appreciate your incredibly kind comments. We appreciate how wonderful chat has been. So please do like and subscribe. Share with your friends. Make other people mad. Please do it.
amazing.
Thank you. So you're probably wondering, what happened? Well, it's really the perfect storm. The first reason is that people are shopping a lot more online, so there's less of a reason to have a storefront out here like this. The second reason is COVID. Businesses were forced to shut down. They weren't allowed to operate, and as a result, businesses lost a lot of money and had to close. So I think from all the closures here, this one resonates the most with me because I used to come here as a kid in the 90s, and this used to be a Barnes & Noble. Then my understanding is that in 2018, they doubled the rent. Barnes & Noble said they couldn't possibly sell that many books to be able to pay the rent. They left.
Sure, COVID may be a reason, but why is it that in California specifically, so many businesses have closed down in the large cities and they haven't come back? Why is that? You don't see this level of vacancies in other big cities. You just don't. I don't think you see it in New York. I don't think you see it in DC. You don't see it in Miami. Negs and I were in Miami 2 years ago. Miami was hopping. It was hopping and popping. So was Key West. So what is it about these California cities specifically that have left them in this sorry state?
It was then taken over by WeWork. We know how that turned out. WeWork went out of business, and since then, this building has sat empty. Now, a big problem with a lot of the real estate that's here is that the building's value is really tied to the amount of rent they receive. So if a developer decides to lower the rent, all of a sudden, they take a lower rent, their building is worth a lot less. And then when you have one building that's worth a lot less, that acts as a comp for other buildings next to it to also be worth a lot less.
That's right.
So in a sense, they're almost forced to keep their rents high just to maintain their value. And in terms of how much it costs, it's very expensive. Rents here on the promenade start about $5 to $6 a square foot. And they go as high as $20 a square foot. So that means sometimes for a 1,000 square foot storefront, you could pay anywhere from $7,000 to $20,000 a month.
Crazy.
Or if you have 3,000 square feet, even at $6 a square foot, that's $18,000 a month just in rent alone that you have to make up for with street traffic that just isn't here anymore.
That's right.
So really outside of any high-end restaurants or national retailers, no one could really afford what's here. The other issue is that a lot of these buildings were built in a time where a business could take over the entire store. But now we've shifted towards smaller buildings. And places like this are really difficult to subdivide.
Look
so
at
what
that
ends up
beautiful
happening
building.
is that you have a 3,000 square foot place for rent.
That gorgeous Art Deco building reminds me of the buildings in Miami at South Beach. Yeah, and with no street traffic, your business is dead. That was our problem in downtown Connersville. There was no street traffic. If you go to downtown Connersville at pretty much any hour of the day or night, what you'll notice is that nobody is walking around. Nobody. Nobody is window shopping. Nobody is browsing. And as a result, a lot of the stores just close up. They don't open at all, or their hours are very irregular. So with no foot traffic, your business is dead in the water.
And they can't chop it up into smaller storefronts. You're stuck either renting the entire thing or nothing at all. The other issue is homelessness. Right now, it's reported that there's 117 homeless per 1 square mile, which is some of the highest in the country. And again, that's just what they could count. Now, the thing is, though, if you are homeless, I mean, look at where we are. It's one of the most beautiful places in the entire country.
It's gorgeous.
And that's one of the difficult parts, is because when I walk around here, it is so nice. The weather is perfect. The scenery is incredible. I mean, it's really one of a kind, and I see why people want to be here so badly and how beautiful it is. Even for me, having left, there are aspects of Santa Monica and Los Angeles that I really miss, just because it's so unbelievably gorgeous.
It is.
Now, in terms of solving the homelessness issue, California has spent so far about $24 billion since 2019. And this behind us is an example of exactly that. This used to be a parking structure that was torn down to build affordable housing for the homeless. However, the cost is through the roof. A lot of locals say that it costs way too much money at $125 million, which means every unit that's going to be built here for the homeless is going to cost about $1 million.
Wow.
Now, for context, if you want to buy your own condo here in Santa Monica, it's going to cost you anywhere between $1 million to $1.5 million, give or take.
Wow. You know that one of the numbers that I can't stop rolling around in my head. You guys know that Kat Von D and her family moved to Indiana. They moved to a little town in the south of Indiana called Vevey, and they bought a mansion. If you guys want to get an eyeful, look up Kat Von D's Vevey home. It is incredible. It's sitting on a huge amount of land. The mansion is stunning. It's a gorgeous historic Victorian mansion. They paid $1.5 million for that home. $1.5 million to live in a mansion that looks like a castle on an enormous amount of land, where she and the neighbors planted a field of black tulips that are really striking. And she has that pool with the red water in it. 1.5 million for a mansion, a multi-room mansion in beautiful condition, and $1 million a piece for each of these units. I was telling somebody recently, do you know what 1.5 million can buy you in DC? A small 2-bedroom condo with anywhere from a $1,000 to $2,000 a month maintenance fee. And here in Indiana, if you go to Vevey, and you have a good real estate agent, you can buy a castle for 1.5 million. It puts things into perspective.
For take. Or you could live here if you're homeless. The other issue is crime. Petty theft under $950 is now considered a misdemeanor. And that's really impacted a lot of businesses.
Sure has.
Prop 47 passed in 2014 and changed the way California handles certain crimes, making thefts of less than $950 chargeable as only misdemeanors.
That's right.
And people look at the store owner and take it right in front of them and walk out.
It has fueled a market of petty and repeat offenses with zero to low accountability.
After that, we have the rail line, which extends all the way from downtown to Santa Monica. The concern that I've heard from some of the locals is that this rail line makes it very accessible for people to travel from Skid Row to Santa Monica, back to Skid Row, back to Santa Monica, who otherwise wouldn't be here.
Brock tells us Ali tried to steal his hat 3 times and eventually got it, shoved him, and also tossed a liquid at the couple.
And that is the mayor of Santa Monica.
Turned to walk away. He took a bottle of some sort of liquid, threw it on me.
Brock says he and his girlfriend followed Ali while keeping 911 updated on his whereabouts. And when the man somehow toppled over, Brock held him down until police arrived.
And of course, we can't make a video like this without discussing drug use. It was recently found that substance abuse affects about 75% of the homeless population. This is also reflected in the fact that Santa Monica is one of the top fentanyl death hotspots in LA County.
I did not know that.
Drugs, combined with 78% of the homeless population suffering from mental health issues, is a serious contributor to violent crime incidents.
And what he said about the light rail that goes from Skid Row or goes from LA to Santa Monica, that is actually why there is no metro stop in Georgetown in DC. The Georgetown residents raised Cain. They did not want a metro stop in Georgetown. The closest one to Georgetown is at George Washington University, it's close. I mean, you can walk to Georgetown very easily. But there's no metro stop in central Georgetown, which is weird because basically every university in DC has a metro stop associated with it, except for Georgetown. The Georgetown residents did not want the metro bringing in the wrong element from other parts of the city or from outside the city, from the wrong counties, if you know what I mean. So they fought it tooth and nail, and there's no metro in Georgetown because they wanted to avoid this exact scenario, which makes life very inconvenient. It made parking impossible in Georgetown, and now Georgetown's kind of dead as a shopping district because it's not fun anymore. It's not cute or original or cutting edge or whatever anymore. But back in the day, Georgetown was the party central place. Where all the bars, a lot of the bars were, a lot of the clubs were, and people wanted to come to Georgetown to party. And then the Georgetown residents, a lot of them, they managed to put the kibosh on the bars and the clubs. And so now Georgetown is a very dull shopping district where basically you'll see the same stores that you would see in any shopping mall anywhere around the country. And it's lost its spark. You know, but this is exactly what happened in DC. Exactly. Or this is what DC avoided by not putting a metro stop in Georgetown.
I would personally say, though, as someone who grew up here, I think the nail in the coffin was the 2020 riots that happened.
There you go.
And a lot of these businesses were broken into. And ever since then, it just seems like they've had a really difficult time recovering from that.
So I lived in Santa Monica since 2017, and I've seen it change a lot throughout the years. Especially through the pandemic, which was one of the more interesting times, especially with all the riots and everything that actually happening right down the street. I had 7 helicopters right above
Look at that.
my unit, for a while. We've had people try to break into our garages. We've had our garbage situations a mess. So I have a lock on our garbage outside just so it doesn't get crazy. And that was like something we had to do.
We've had a break-in in our place. I have a buddy who lives a couple miles that way, still in Santa Monica, that has had a break-in. These are anecdotes again, but I don't think that anyone should have a rosy picture and should just pretend that, like, you know, this is the kind of neighborhood you can like, leave your door unlocked and then, you know, not have to worry about anything happening. I hope we can figure it out, obviously.
I've lived here my whole life. I've grown up here. I was born in 90.
It's sad.
I mean, it used to be a lot easier going, a lot simpler. I mean, you would never see houses go for the prices that they were. And everyone was in these kind of like, you know, single level homes, and the homelessness is crazy. Like, there was never to the point where they're under
Look at that.
every bridge, every freeway.
That looks like San Francisco. Look at how bad that is. So now Santa Monica is not only like San Francisco in terms of the crime and the homelessness and the drugs, but all of this also looks just like Skid Row. This is really, really bad. And again, the real estate, well, not the real estate, the scenery there is gorgeous. The weather is perfect every single day. And imagine paying like millions for a house and getting taxed accordingly. And meanwhile, you know, it's not safe. It's not a safe place to live.
underpass.
It's definitely deteriorated a lot where I've contemplated moving out. I do love Santa Monica,
Me too.
but I have contemplated moving out just for that reason because it's just changed a lot. I've seen things just outside on the buildings when they shut down saying, hey, we shut down because of Santa Monica city codes. And they're like, we're still located in Hollywood if you want to come see us, but we're no longer going to be in Santa Monica.
What is Santa Monica doing about it?
I think they're just throwing money at it. You see, they do these frequent kind of clear outs, maybe like once every few months, but 3 days later, maybe even less, you'll see it just the way it is.
Of course.
Same amount of trash and
Look at that.
garbage. And then there's these nebulous housing projects in downtown LA, which, you hear about them, you kind of occasionally you'll see like community letters come out like, this is what we're doing, but it doesn't change anything. There's really no difference being made with these really insane projects. I mean, the amount of money they're throwing at this is insane.
Yeah,
it just seems to get more and more as time goes on, and more homeless, more spending on it, but everything's getting worse.
I avoid the pier at all costs.
Imagine.
I never go over there because every time it's just like very sad. And my car did get broken into
When is
recently. This was 2 months ago, I would say.
And just on the street here?
So I live in actually a really safe neighborhood, like off Wilshire. Families, like really nice homes and everything. And I was just parked right outside my apartment. And just on a random Tuesday.
Did you file a police report on that?
So I didn't actually file a police report, but I did call the police and let them know what happened. And they basically told me that unless I had footage, then there's no point of filing a report because they're not going to be able to identify who it was.
Yeah, that's great. When my car was stolen in DC, my other car, I did file a police report. And they asked me where it had happened and so on. And my car was stolen in front of the Whole Foods on H Street Northeast. And that entire area is just retailers, and every single retailer has a security camera. So they knew, obviously, where the car had been stolen from. Did they bother going to look at the security camera footage? No. The only reason that the car was found was because there was a police report on it. And the Hyundai had sent out an emergency SOS signal to Hyundai headquarters, whatever it is. It had like newer Hyundais have the equivalent of like an OnStar service. And so the thieves drove it until Hyundai killed the battery. They rolled it into an alleyway right by Gallaudet University. And the neighbors called to complain and say that there was a car that had been abandoned in the alley. The police came, they called me. So it was only a few hours between the time the car was stolen and the time it was recovered. But I asked the police, well, are you going to dust for prints? Are you going to go? Are you going to look at the security cameras on H Street? They're like, no. The majority of my Barbie collection was in the trunk because I was moving my dolls from the office to my home. And they didn't care. I had a lot of stuff stolen out of the trunk. They broke the what is it? The glove compartment. They trashed the inside of the car. I'm very lucky that they didn't total the car. But the police don't care. And this is also happening in other jurisdictions where even if you file a report, even if the if the item is found, they don't do anything. There's an issue in DC, and I'm sure in other cities too, where people will go on Nextdoor and they will post Ring camera footage. And they'll say, these are guys that are stealing mail and packages from porches. They'll upload it. You can see a clear shot of the person's face. Crystal clear. The police don't do anything. People go down to the precinct. They take the footage with them. They show the police. The police take a report. They don't investigate. They don't care. When my car was crashed into, my old Hyundai, and I called the police and I said, are you going to come and take a look at it? Because the guy didn't have insurance. And he ran a stop sign, and now my front end is fucked up. And they're like, nope, Just call your insurance company. I said, but they're going to ask for a police report. And the police said, which leads me to ask, what the fuck do they do? I'm not sure what it is that the police are now tasked with doing in these cities. But it seems like these, they're not arresting these shoplifters. They're not arresting people who are openly threatening other people on the street. They're not investigating theft or burglaries. So what the hell do they do? I'm not entirely certain.
So it's really interesting. I learned this the other night that according to these statistics, crime in Santa Monica has actually decreased. And one of the reasons why is because so many people fail to file a police report.
Right.
Because the police either can't do anything about it or because people don't want their insurance going up. And so a lot of businesses are experiencing, for them, increased crime, but they won't report it because there's nothing the police can do and they don't want to pay more insurance. So they just let it go under the radar.
Crime data shows that vandalism and burglaries have decreased in Santa Monica.
Businesses are closing left and right.
Well, that's one way to decrease robbery.
Going on.
She says when she called police, they suggested she call the store's insurer.
The state tries to manipulate things a lot, right? I think there's a lot of rent control in this state. That doesn't seem to help anything because once a place is rent control, that person will never leave. So that housing will never be on the market.
Right.
I think just everything in California, it needs to pop. Just once, it's just been going up. Every recession, we just keep going up. And it's starting to show.
I mean, look, overall, every time I drive into Santa Monica, I love it, right? I drive in away, coming from West Hollywood or other parts of the city, and I love coming back to this little pocket. A lot of the things you have to deal with is the unfortunate part about Santa Monica. And I would not wish that on someone who's like trying to have their first place here because it's difficult, especially if you have kids. I think if I had kids, I would highly reconsider where I was living.
And the weather's really nice, right?
It's beautiful.
Ask anyone. That's what they're going to say is like the main plus is the weather's beautiful.
It's perfect, actually.
I don't really feel like I'm in danger being myself, but I do worry if my daughter and my wife go out to like a park on their own because there's been instances where just like, there's this wild homeless guy there, so I have to call the cops. It's a whole thing. You just don't want your kid to be exposed to that kind of stuff, and there really is no reason for them to be exposed to that. It's not acceptable.
Here's my honest feeling: if you are someone who, at night doesn't like to walk to their car alone, if you're someone that's maybe from like a small town that's really safe, where you feel comfortable going for a walk in the middle of the night, then you're going to be in for a culture shock for sure moving here. Like there's definitely going to be things you're not expecting. But if you really love Southern California and you want to experience like in my opinion, coolest part of LA, this is the place to be. But if you do get scared, and rightfully so, of your safety when walking around big cities, this is some of the worst that it's going to get. So you might not want to live here,
So let me know what you guys think of this down below in the comments section. I'll do my best to read as many of them as I can. And if you enjoy videos like this, just make sure to hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you so much. And until next time.
Okay, so that was great. Please sub to his channel. His channel is really good. Just don't take any of his crypto tips. Do not buy crypto based on the recommendation of a social media influencer. Just don't do it. As a matter of fact, just avoid crypto altogether. How's that for a piece of advice? Just don't buy any of it. But again, if you're going to buy crypto, if you're going to try to dabble in Bitcoin or in Ethereum or something like that, only invest as much as you can afford to lose. Don't pull a boogie and take all your huge nest egg or your entire nest egg or even the majority of your nest egg and invest it in crypto, because before you know it, it'll all go bye-bye and you may not have years to wait for it to recover and regain its value. So ignore any tips that he gives you on those kinds of things. But he's done some really good videos on why states and cities are starting to fall and what happened and why the quality of life is diminished so much. So basically, we've got the combination of the riots in 2020. Same thing happened in DC in 1968. Some of those neighborhoods took upwards of 30 years to come back. A lot of those buildings were either burned out permanently, well, not permanently, but for decades. and replaced by, check cashing places and liquor stores and, the kind of businesses I'm talking about. And it took until the 2000s for some of those neighborhoods to start to come back, and for the realtors, and not realtors, but for the developers to finally buy up some of these gross old properties and these buildings on streets that were all boarded up and turn them around. But it took a long, long time. So I fear that Santa Monica and San Francisco and cities like that, the areas that were burned out by the riots, or the businesses that moved out because they didn't think it was worth it to stay, it could take a long time. And it breaks my heart to say that about San Francisco. I mean, not that it was a picnic in DC, but it's sad when you see cities like San Francisco that are such jewels deteriorate to that extent. And the rents and the property values still are through the roof. Elon Musk is moving Twitter out of San Francisco. A lot of the influencers on YouTube who used to live in LA have left. They've moved to the Pacific Northwest, or they've moved mostly to Texas. So it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen. All right, you guys. I really, really, Janine, I am so sorry about that. It's very tempting, it's very tempting, because you'll see a couple of guys who invested in the early years and saw their money just multiply. I mean, remember during lockdown, the big thing was Doge, because Elon Musk was talking it up, which means that Elon Musk had inside information on Doge. And Elon Musk is a billionaire. He can afford to lose money. To Elon Musk, what, a couple of $1,000,000 is nothing. But if you're just a regular Joe and you're like, oh, I'm going to be rich like Elon Musk, I'm going to buy a whole bunch of Doge. No. Yeah, right. Because why go to a financial advisor when you can go to the proprietor of the Angry Grandpa channel, right? Okay. All right. 47 minutes, time for dinner. I want to thank you guys for coming, and do not forget, please, to sub and like on your way out, and please do share the channel link with your friends. And if you're so inclined, please do take advantage of the Cash App and PayPal information that's crawling down at the bottom of the screen. We do appreciate it. And again, I want to say thank you to all the people who donated via Cash App yesterday. Very generous, very generous. And I do not reveal the identities of the people who donate with Cash App for obvious reasons, or PayPal for that matter. So anyway, thank you so much. The channel's growing. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you guys the next time.